Muchas veces yo creo que las personas que trabajan dentro de la administración de Donald Trump se pelean para ver quién hace peor su trabajo. Y honestamente la incompetencia de esta administración es indiscutible y muy notoria, pues los niveles de criminalidad y corrupción en Estados Unidos se han elevado como nunca antes en toda la historia. Y eso quedó totalmente evidenciado ayer cuando la fiscal general de Estados Unidos, Pam Bondi, compareció ante el Congreso y fue confrontada por su criminalidad. Criminalidad en la que ha estado involucrada durante la administración de Donald Trump. Y no solo colapsó de inmediato con un ataque de gritos, sino que durante esto también humilló a Donald Trump. Y créeme que esto te lo voy a mostrar en video. Pero primero quiero que escuches a la congresista Malin Ding. Mira, por favor.
The three hallmarks of this administration are incompetence, corruption, and cruelty. I'm going to focus today on corruption. And in my mind, there are two types of corruption: personal, and then the other I'm going to call public, governmental. Attorney General, have you ever been registered as an agent of a foreign principal under the Foreign Agents Registration Act?
I assume you're talking about when I represented the country of Qatar for a very short time.
The answer is yes. No,
hold
excuse
on.
me.
No,
No.
for anti-human trafficking for the World Cup. Anti-human trafficking
or
for the
no?
World Cup.
Attorney
you can't
General,
put words in my mouth.
No.
You want to talk about incompetence? You're the one that
Excuse
said
me.
Joe Biden on PBS was competent. You had to retract those words. So
Mr.
don't
Chairman.
talk to me. Don't insult me publicly.
This is so discourteous. This is so outside the committee's guidelines. Taking a personal shot at me while swiping at Biden, very strange and very unprofessional of you. The answer is yes or no, and the answer is yes. You were registered as a lobbyist for Qatar. Is that correct? Yes. Never mind, don't answer. Did you disclose that when you went before for the Senate for confirmation? Yes or no? No, it was not in your documents. The answer is no. President Trump.
This was discussed at my confirmation hearings in detail.
It was it was discussed, but you failed to bring up the conflict that you had. President Trump recently announced he'd accept that $400 million Qatar airplane because it was just prettier than the one he was flying around in. Is it true that you gave advice that this was legally permissible? Yes or no?
I will not discuss any advice that my Office of Legal Counsel gives to the President of the United States on any matter.
When you spoke before the Senate, you said you would ask for ethical advice. Did you recuse yourself from that issue?
And talking about unprofessional, you say the President wanted a jet because it's pretty?
Excuse
Come
me.
on, this is a Senate, this is
He
a
said it
congressional
himself.
hearing.
He said it himself. Let me go to April the 2nd. You're a part of this, you know, the president has dabbled in meme coin. He had the DOJ disband the National Cryptocurrency Enforcement Team. His son recently launched the Executive Branch Club, a private club with $500,000 memberships here in D.C. Any of this seem like it might be a problem, might be profiteering from the office, and maybe you and your ethics team might be concerned about these conflicts of interest, your own and the president and his family? Yes or no? Any concerns?
What I would be concerned about in Pennsylvania are all the child sex cases that we've prosecuted, all the CSAM cases that we've prosecuted.
Did you hear
in
my question?
Pennsylvania.
I
That's
asked
what
the
I would
witness
be
to
concerned
actually
about.
answer questions that are asked.
Congresswoman Dean.
Chairman,
Please let the witness answer the question.
she didn't. And I would like to ask you one more question. You're not just complicit in this, you're actively helping and profiting. Isn't it true that on April the 2nd, the same day that Trump announced his chaotic tariff regime that plummeted the stock market, you sold more than $1 million worth of your shares in Trump Media stock? Trump Media stock fell 13% in the following days. Seems you avoided that loss. Well done. I yield back.
May I answer that, Chairman? I complied with my ethics, and yeah, I would take a class in financial literacy if you think I profited from that, because I lost a tremendous amount of money. Congresswoman, and also on page 25 of my SJ2, it lists my involvement with Qatar for anti-human trafficking for the World Cup. Thank you.
Lo gracioso es la respuesta de Pam Bondi diciendo, ay, yo era la insider trading. Insider trading es la persona que está encargada de información privada o privilegiada dentro de una empresa. Y cualquier persona sabe que esta acción es inútil dentro de la empresa de Donald Trump. Pero claramente Pam Bondi está involucrada en información privilegiada de la empresa de Donald Trump. Pero lo que ella dice es algo como, bueno, esta es una acción sin valor. La empresa de Donald Trump es simplemente una fachada para que él tome todo ese dinero, para que así pueda estafar y que nadie realmente utiliza Truth Social. No es un modelo de negocio serio que estemos viendo. Es simplemente vergonzoso que este sea el nivel de estafa y criminalidad que vemos dentro de la administración de Donald Trump. Y por supuesto que esto no termina ahí. También vemos cómo Pam Bondi confrontó los indultos que Donald Trump había dado el 6 de enero. Y sus respuestas no fueron tan buenas porque simplemente no sabía cómo responder. Miren el clip.
Closely following the aftermath of January 6th. Recently, several defendants who received presidential pardons related to that day are now arguing in court that the pardon covers crimes like, for instance, illegal firearm possession discovered in a search of an individual's home in California months after January 6th. What's your position on whether the pardons cover these separate offenses?
The pardon power rests with the president, not the Department of Justice, and some of that is pending litigation, and I cannot discuss pending litigation.
Well, I'm not asking you about who has the right to a pardon. I think as the Department of Justice in February wrote, the pardon is an act of grace which removes the punishment from a crime a person has committed. It further said, in its effect, the granting of a pardon is in no sense the overturning of a judgment of conviction. It is an executive action that mitigates or sets aside punishment. So as the chief law enforcement officer, what's your opinion, not the president's power of whether he can offer a pardon? That's pretty clear in the Constitution. But for crimes committed unrelated to January 6th, would you suggest that the pardons would cover activities or crimes potentially committed outside of that by the same person?
Well, I don't know if you're referring to Joe Biden pardoning his son after he said he would not pardon Hunter Biden, or the
No, I actually
commutation
referred
of
to
all
January
the
6th. I'm sorry.
all the sentences that the people that were on death row. I've met with those families.
No,
and all of those sentences were commuted. I'm not going to comment on pardons on either side of the aisle.
So, well, I'm not asking about either side. I'm asking, you're the chief law enforcement officer in the United States. You have a responsibility directly, you sworn oath to the Constitution, not the president. Want to know what your views are on the extent to which pardons cover potential crimes committed by individuals who've been pardoned but unrelated to January 6th.
Do you mean the ones that were done by the auto pen? I'm not going to discuss
right.
anything that
Mr.
could
Chairman,
be or not be
I
pending litigation.
respectfully, you know, Ms. DeLauro accused you of filibustering. I think that's the height of filibustering. This is a serious topic. And for you to suggest that you don't have an opinion or to divert to other things that have nothing to do with January 6 pardons, I think is frankly demeaning to your responsibilities and your job. With that, I'll yield back.
Pam Bondi no puede responder a la pregunta porque simplemente sabe lo vergonzoso que es esto. La constante evasión por parte del movimiento MAGA, que este es el movimiento Make America Great Again, liderado por Donald Trump, es porque incluso ellos se enredaron en su propia hipocresía. Pam Bondi no sabe ni siquiera si apoyar a la policía o apoyar a las personas que los atacaron el 6 de enero, personas las cuales Donald Trump perdonó. Por si no saben esto, fue un problema que el 6 de enero personas golpearon policías y Donald Trump, en vez de darle el castigo que se merecían, simplemente les dio indultos, o sea, los perdonó a todos. Y Pam Bondi no sabía si apoyar a la razón, que la razón es estar en contra de Donald Trump, porque ¿cómo vas a perdonar a personas que golpean policías? O estar del lado de Donald Trump, que es quien le paga el sueldo. Es muy humillante ver cómo tratan de justificar todo. Le echan la culpa a Joe Biden, luego dicen que fue culpa de alguien más. Nunca son los culpables ellos, siempre es la culpa de alguien más. Por eso me encanta que haya gente como Jamie Raskin que los confrontó y los confronta cara a cara. Miren el clip.
There have only been 15 federal judges impeached in all of American history by the Congress of the United States, and it's always for corruption or bribery or income tax evasion. It's for actually engaging in a crime, a high crime or misdemeanor, not because the Congress disagrees with their analysis, much less because Congress disagrees with their correct analysis of a legal problem. It's never happened before. The Bill of Rights was added to protect the rights and freedoms of the people against abuse by the government, whether it's a Congress passing laws that infringe on liberty or a president making up laws, usurping congressional powers, or violating constitutional rights, or indeed states trespassing the rights of the people. Now, here's the amazing thing. The framers understood like Lord Acton, that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And so they arranged a constitutional system where power would be vertically divided, shared and distributed between the federal government and the states and localities, as well as horizontally distributed among the legislative, executive, and judicial branches of government. And the branches would check one another's abusive ambitions, and the people would exercise their freedoms of speech, press, assembly, petition of government, and so on to counterbalance the tyrannical propensities of government generally. We're in a dramatic constitutional confrontation today where every facet of the framers' design has been activated to try and save constitutional democracy and freedom. From the day he took office, Trump has tried to exercise powers like a king, trampling the rights of the people, usurping the powers of Congress, denouncing judges and threatening to defy the rulings of courts, and violating the legitimate authority of states and their elected officials. Last Saturday, June 14th, which was Flag Day and the president's birthday, he chose to stage a $45 million military parade in the streets of Washington. In response, at least 7 million anti-monarchical Americans assembled in over 2,000 protests in cities and towns across America for the unveiling of No King's Day, a magnificent demonstration of the inextinguishable resiliency of popular constitutional democracy in the face of dictatorial designs against the people. But the people marching in the streets from Philadelphia to Los Angeles, from the boundary waters of Minnesota to New Orleans, are not alone in this process. They reflect a powerful constitutional opposition in motion. Political leaders at the state level are fighting back in court along with their allies in Congress, and we are winning this fight every day in courtrooms across America. More than 328 lawsuits have been filed since Donald Trump, Stephen Miller, Pete Hegseth, Marco Rubio, and Elon Musk took office, and federal courts across the land have remarkably issued 197 preliminary injunctions or temporary restraining orders against this reign of lawlessness. The witnesses before us today, the attorney generals for the people of Massachusetts, Minnesota, New Jersey, and Illinois, are leaders in the fight for the Constitution and federal laws that have been abandoned by the president. And these chief state lawyers are winning significant battles in front of judges appointed by both Republican presidents and Democratic presidents. They are even winning in courts where judges preside who were appointed by President Trump himself.
Este es el tipo de energía que se necesita y viene de parte de Jamie Raskin. Antes de irme te quiero dar un consejo que doy en varios videos. Mi consejo es que con todo esto que está pasando de la guerra y los problemas, lo más sensato es que ahorres dinero, tanto en el banco como en efectivo, porque tú no sabes qué pueda pasar, no sabes a dónde te tengas que movilizar, no sabes todo lo que tenga que pasar, las crisis económicas que puedan suceder, así que te recomiendo que guardes. No inviertas en cosas innecesarias. No te digo que tengas una mala vida, simplemente que guardes por si acaso. Que si llega a suceder una crisis, ya sea la guerra, ya sea una estanflación, ya sea una recesión económica, siempre te va a hacer bien tener dinero guardado, en el banco y en efectivo, ya que si llega a pasar algo y los bancos llegan a cerrar, tú vas a tener con qué defenderte. Pero bueno, al final de todo esto es un consejo, no tienes que seguirlo si no quieres hacerlo, pero créeme que te podría ayudar en el caso de que se dé esto. Y está de más decirlo, pero si te gusta el contenido de política estadounidense, te gusta estar informado de lo que está pasando en Estados Unidos, te va a encantar suscribirte al canal, ya que subo videos todos los días. Mi nombre es José Alvarado, soy economista y estoy comprometido a informarte diariamente. Nos vemos en el siguiente video. Adiós.